Yeah, better late than never, right? Okay, the recording is on now. I'm like 20 to 15 minutes into the presentation and I forgot. My apologies. I'll do a quick review just shortly after. So in this case, we logged into Azure. We have the website. We have our database. And we have our infrastructure ready. Now we can deploy the infrastructure, right? So we deploy the website. All we do is just specify a name, right? Because that's the only argument that task expects, right? And the way for me to just explore that is, again, it's going to tell me what it wants. But one of the things I can check is there's the actions YAML for this task that tells me exactly what it expects, right? It just, this is the only thing that I need from you, right? Is this. Okay. And then, so now this task is going to go ahead and deploy my website. By the way, did you notice that the version I'm calling here is called @master, right? I can do @v1, I can do @master, I can even do a hash code, as I mentioned before. So the next thing it's going to do is going to go ahead and deploy my website, right? I'll deploy my database. And in this case, it's actually going to run in parallel. Deploy my website and my database are going to run in parallel because there's no interdependency between them. All this task needs is make sure that the website, the database artifact is there, my DAC package. And what it's doing is this one is actually, again, download an artifact, and it's using because I couldn't, I wanted to demo the custom task into action that created by me, and it's hosted by me. So there's an artifact that's called deploy artifact, deploying backpacks, right? It's created by me, and it's called max test deploy, right? And it is actually sitting in my repo, right? I want to quickly jump into that, and I have in my own repo, I have, I have this max test deploy task, right? That's created by me, and it's public right now, but I can make it private too if I want to. So this, the reason why I want to bring that up is I want to talk about a little bit about how to create your own custom task, right? If you don't find anything that you want, you can always create your own. So you can start with, there's a bunch of templates that you can start with, right? That says, okay, you can actually, forget what they're called, but you can go ahead and get started from the template. It's actually called this, right? So I can go ahead and click from here. So I can go ahead and start the template, right? And start a new repo with that, and it's a basic action template, right? That action template, what it has is, it gives me the basics, right? And the things that worth looking into is, worth covering is, first of all, there's two types of actions you can create. You can create the JavaScript-based actions, which is just any JavaScript language, or you can create a container action, right? Which is basically anything that can run in a container, right? So which means basically anything. So again, it's either going to spin up the JavaScript action, or it's going to spin up the container and run your actions inside the container. So in this case, this is a JavaScript action. So if I go to my action is defined in the actual YAML, and my action YAML, what it's doing is saying, again, description, offer, and just some promise, right? So in this case, I want to give me the connection string, and yes, it's required, and give me the DAC path, yes, it's also required, and some additional arguments for the SQL package, because in this case, I'm running SQL package.exe, and I want to make sure that, again, I want to allow people to pass any kind of additional arguments they might want to pass the SQL package, right? And this is my JavaScript command, JavaScript action. And again, at the end of the day, it's calling this main.js file, right? And this main.js file, another couple of things I wanted to point out, because it's a JavaScript, I have a package.json, which tells me all of my dependencies that my code needs. The one thing that I wanted to point, two things that I want to point out is for my action, I'm using two action dependencies. One that's core functionality of any action, and the exec modules of the actions, right? This is what it allows me to call the command. Everything else is typical JavaScript, right? Node.js or whatever. In this case, I think it's TypeScript, actually. So in my code, I have this. Again, my code is actually this, right? and all it's doing is just collecting all the information and calling the command, right? I can also be a bit more dynamic, like, okay, if it doesn't have a SQL package, go ahead and get me a SQL package.txt file, right? And still run the command. So again, this is a demo, so it's good enough. And then I'm speeding out the logs that I see fit, right? So in my, going back to my action, in my action, I have, if I go from the top, so this is calling my custom task that I didn't want to use any kind of built-in ones. I want to write my own, and it's reading the connection string from my variables because I want it to be encoded, encrypted, and it's calling my DACPAC file, and I'm passing some arguments, right, to the SQL package. Basically, I'm taking advantage of everything that I need from my custom actions. Okay, back from the top quickly, just for the recording, apologies. So we have custom actions, the name of it. It's going to go ahead and be running on any kind of commit, any push. We define the number of jobs. The first one is going to build my website. It's going to run on Ubuntu. It's going to check out the code, build it, test it. I'm sorry. Check out the code, set up .NET, build it, test it, and publish it, right? And then it's going to go ahead and take that artifact that is just published and put it into GitHub as an artifact. Then it's going to build my database on Windows this time, and it's going to build using the MS Build. And it's going to go ahead and take that DACPAC file that this is going to generate, and it's going to put it as an artifact into the GitHub again. So I have my website artifact and my database artifact. And now I'm ready to deploy, but I want to make sure that I can provide the infrastructure, provision infrastructure automatically. So I am packaging my infrastructure as code as an artifact as well. And then I'm using that artifact to in another job called provision infrastructure, which depends on my artifact job, to call my PowerShell script from the infrastructure as code and build myself the Azure resource group, the SQL server, SQL database, the website, the web plan, the app insights, and so on. So that list goes on, right? And I can pass some parameters. I'm also defining some firewall rules. So, and I'm tagging it just for the later use. And by the way, this is not, you can use it with Azure, you can use it with Amazon, you can use it with Google, GCP if you want, on pretty much on premise, anything you want to, right? The reason why I'm using this on Azure because, well, it's convenient and Azure works for me and I find it awesome. But again, it's going to work with any other infrastructure. So I'm calling this PowerShell script. And now that my infrastructure is provisioned, it's going to go ahead and deploy my website. Once my website, so before the website can be deployed, it needs to have an artifact and the infrastructure has to be there. And then it's going to go ahead and log into Azure using the credentials that I'm storing in my code. Where is it? I'm sorry, when I'm storing in my repos, there's a bunch of secrets that I've defined. It's in the wrong repo. Sorry, the secrets are repo based. So I need to go to. Okay, so my secrets will be sitting here, and I can define them. I can change them. There's two ones that define the log, the debug logging. So this is the one that I'm using right now. And I'm logging into Azure. I'm going to go and deploy the websites, build the data, go ahead and now deploy my database. So this is the GitHub action that's going to go ahead and build my code, build my database, build my infrastructure, deploy my application, deploy my database. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. So if I go to my actions, I can see the last, so actually, this is the name of my action, right? So I can, by the way, this is the one that I was running before. I can see how it was running and see the logs. I can go ahead and like view the file if I want to, right? So I can create badges. This is the like a previous logs if I want to see them, right? Here's all of my artifacts that it's going to create. Here's all the steps that it went ahead and run. But again, that's no fun. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off again. just for fun. So here, pick my action, and yeah, I don't want. How do I do that? Now I'm gonna go ahead and because it's on push, I'm gonna go ahead and commit something. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to my file. I'm gonna go ahead to this file because I'm not using it anyway. I'm using the web editor to make a change. Don't usually you want to use things like the Visual Studio Code or any kind of editor of your choice, or command line or again terminal if you want. I'm gonna commit something. I'm gonna go ahead and push my change onto demo 4. Oh, I clicked the wrong lesson. DevOps demo for user group. Okay, I'm gonna commit to master. Again, this is a demo, but typically you don't commit to master. In master, you have the branch policies configured, so people go for the pull request before it ends up in protected branches. But this is the demo. We're gonna be go ahead and push it directly to master. Now that it's pushed, on the push, it should trigger my action, and my action should go ahead and be running now. So DevOps demo, and it's running. And as you can see, it kicked off 3 jobs at the same time, right? It kicked off my website, my database, and my infrastructure artifacts, right? Because there's no dependency between them, I can run them in parallel. This is gonna save me a lot of time. While this is running, any questions?
Hey Max, are you using your own machine to run one of those tests here or not?
No. I'm running everything in Azure.
So do you know if in terms of minutes, I know that some of the GitHub plans, they have 2,000 minutes per month or something like that. Have you crossed to any limit or anything so far?
For demos, no. But also I have a professional account, so I get a bit more. And again, I haven't run into the limits, but yes, the GitHub agents, the GitHub runners, they charge per minute. So yes, they again, they're not expensive, but if you're building a lot, it adds up a little, right? You can always buy more, and again, if you need more. But what I wanted to point out is running agents in the cloud, using the hosted agents. It costs you money, but if you compare how much it costs you to host your own server and maintain it and keep the lights on, it's way more. And it's probably, again, it lets somebody else to take care of it, right? So that's my philosophy, at least.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thanks.
But yes, I am running my own agent, as you can see, right? It's running, it's listening, it's just not doing anything right now. But I wanted to demo that functionality that, yes, I can have my own hosted agents for the GitHub. Okay, so
I guess this agents is kind of like a Docker machine that runs your machine.
No, the agent is actually a zip file, right? So I unzip the contents of the file. So the agent is not a Docker. In my case,
so your agents are VMs in Azure, right, Max?
My agents, no, you mean in the cloud? You mean the hosted agents that I'm using, right?
No, I mean your agents. Are they just VMs in Azure?
What do you mean by my agents?
Well, you said you weren't running on hosted.
No, the one that I'm using is on my laptop, right? The one that I have pointed out right now is on my laptop.
Okay, I think that's what he was asking. So it's right on your machine right now.
Yes, yeah, but it can be running on any host, on any VM or any Docker container for that matter, right? Yeah. As long as when it comes to GitHub, you should be good.
When it comes to build agents, customers generally, you either use the Microsoft hosted ones, which are very convenient, but you don't have any control over them. Like you can't remote into them and do anything or install anything on them. Or you could have an on-premise machine that's actually sitting in your own data center. Or we have a lot of customers who actually set up VMs in Azure or AWS or wherever and just install the agent on them. And that works too.
Yeah, so like, thanks for this presentation. Honestly, it's I've been playing with GitHub Actions for small projects, but I'm still learning a little bit more to make this at work. Yeah, it's incredible to see how much functionalities you can have. I've been using travisci.com to run test tour at work, but all the flexibility that you can have with GitHub Actions, it's impressive. I mean, my own experience, I've been struggling a little bit more to learn all those steps. And I noticed that you have a bunch of customizations in your actions. So just curious to know, like, what's your approach if you like to investigate other projects to see how they're doing, or if you just go by documentations. What's your master tip to learn more GitHub Actions?
What I usually do is I do the research on the task that I need, right? On the actions that I need, and if it exists and if it's close enough, I use it. Again, close enough, and it's been. I'm sorry. If it's close enough, and if it's the reputable offer, right? Just again, in GitHub, everything is like transparent. And then if it's not what I want, or it's not exactly what I want, I can always take that code that they have, give them the credit, and make the changes that I need, enhance it, right? Introduce a pull request and ask them to commit it, or I can just fork it and still give them the credit and customize it to my needs, right? So in this case, by the way, hopefully that answers your question. But there is always a marketplace, right? The GitHub is a marketplace. So the difference between the marketplace and hosting. So I have my own action that's called max test deploy. It's not a marketplace. It's sitting in my own public repo, so people can technically use it. But I haven't published it to the marketplace. I haven't announced it in the marketplace, so people cannot search for it in the marketplace. But in the marketplace, you can search for anything you want to, right? So I don't know. It's Azure. I can spell Azure, right? So there's a bunch of Azure. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to search all GitHub. I want to search this one. So there's a bunch of tasks that are in there, right? If I can use it, great. It's written. Most of them are written by Microsoft, right? Is there a specific technology that's missing? I can search for it. And most likely somebody already have done the job. And if it fits my criteria, I'm going to use it. If it doesn't, I'm going to, again, use that experience to build something that works for me. So the action in my demo, I specifically used a bunch of the ones that used by, written by Microsoft or the GitHub and so on and so forth. And I wrote my own. Well, not really wrote my own. I took somebody else's work and changed it, right? Because it's a SQL package, that pack. There's not a lot of options. But the demo basically mixes all of this, right? And it's gonna go ahead right now. As you can see, it built my website. Like I can see my live logs, by the way. If I look at this, it's going to show me the live logs of everything that's going on. Yeah, everything that's happening live right now, right? I can see the previous log, so I built my own website, right? It finished all the jobs, right? It run everything that I needed to run. Search the logs, I can page them, I can download and show the timestamps and so on, right? I can build my own website, I'll build my own database, and it doesn't click right now. That's mean. I'm sorry, I'm clicking too many things and it's getting upset. And it's gonna go ahead and deploy my database. Notice it deployed my database before it finished my website, right? So I can connect them, tie them together if I'm using dependencies if I want to. In this case, I just wanted them to run, right? As fast as it can. So it ran my task. See that purple text that's in there? That's all the diagnostics part because I turned on diagnostics. So it went ahead and again, took my SQL package, everything that I passed to it, and custom arguments that all my secrets obviously not showing up, and it run my SQL package command, and it's finished. So now it went ahead also provision my infrastructure. So if I look at my resource group that I called, it was empty. It wasn't actually didn't actually exist. Now it starts again. It has my website. It has my app insights. It has my date, the plan. It has my the SQL database and the SQL server, right? So if I look at my SQL database, I think I'm gonna have, because in my pipeline I'm not adding my IP address, so I'm gonna have to add my IP address. Yeah, query. That's gonna take a second. Hopefully I still remember. Yeah, it says, yeah, we don't know who you are, so cannot open. Yeah, so let me go here. I'm just gonna add my IP quickly, and set client IP. It says client IP. There you are. So save. So this is me just making sure that my machine can actually connect to that SQL server, right? So this is my tables. Here's my database. Here's my tables, right? Now created from scratch. And it's finished. It finished deploying my website. And if I go to this website now, I don't want to connect here. I want to go to my website. And hopefully it's going to come on. I'm just kidding. Of course it's going to come on. It might take a second, but it's going to come on because this is the first time the site is loading, right? So this is a simple actions pipeline that does everything that I wanted to do. It builds my websites, it builds my database, it builds my infrastructure, and it does all of that on the fly based on the commit. And if I click on exercise, this should tell me, again, if I didn't have the tables, this would have blown up, right? So let's see if it doesn't blow up. It doesn't blow up. I don't have any entries, but whatever. I can, again, if it's in my DAC packet, they would have come up, right? It's just I don't have anything in my DAC pack. Okay, that's all the demo I have. Give the GitHub Actions a shot. They are, again, they're really, really good, and they're getting better every day. Again, this is one of those tools that will only get better. So, any questions? And I'm almost on time too. Any questions? Anybody?
Thanks, Max. Just curious, have you tried GitLab workflows? I'm not sure how they call there.
The only thing I used GitLab for was Git for some of the clients. And to be honest, again, I haven't used GitLab. Like their CI/CD, I haven't used it, right? So I'm not going to say anything. But my experience of GitLab was I was helping client to move from GitLab to either Azure DevOps or to GitHub, right? So I cannot say anything about GitLab CI/CD. I haven't used it. I used again the Azure DevOps, GitHub, Jenkins, and so on and so forth, right? Bamboo.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I couldn't. I was talking before, but I couldn't. Alex had a question.
Okay.
He just said this code isn't publicly available. Will it be made available at some point?
I'm sorry. Before I answer Alex's question, did I answer the previous question? Yes? No?
All good.
Okay. And Alex, which code do you mean?
The GitHub, yeah, the Mercury Healthcare.
It's
all the code that you're showing us. Is it?
Yeah.
It wasn't showing up when I was there a second ago.
So.
Yeah, the healthcare is private.
Healthcare is private. But healthcare. Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll make it. I don't have a problem making it public. It's not mine anyway, right? So this one is public, and let me do the healthcare public.
Just makes it a little easier to follow along otherwise.
No, it makes sense. And I think my thought process originally was it's a mix of you can use I don't have to, my repo doesn't have to be public for me to use public things, right? But, oh, sorry, where'd you go? All right, you go. Make it public. Let's see if I remember my password. There you are. So it should be public now. Alex, there's the public. Is it good? This is
Just checking. Yep, it's there now. Thank you.
okay. Yeah, I'll put the again my account into the chat, and you can browse around. There's not a lot right now because most of that stuff that I have is public, or it's private, sorry. But for the demo stuff, there's nothing sensitive in this Mercury Healthcare that I don't mind sharing. Okay. Any other questions? No?
All right, Max.
All right, Dave, it's all yours.
You're going to have to make
very
me
much for
presenter again.
listening. The next, we have Dave Lloyd. He's going to be talking on Azure Test Plans.
And you need to make me presenter again. It went away for some reason.
That's all right.
I don't know why.
That's probably because I was presenting. So
Could be. Could be. There we go. That's gone. All right. So let's just move that out of the way. So